Yep. What
Hello
about the
and
cute?
welcome to the Funny Bone, fucker. Hello and welcome to the Mental Funny Bone. I'm Sarah. I'm becoming a gaster girl.
And I'm Christine. And this podcast is about mental health stuff and comedy. And if the combination of comedy and mental health stuff didn't clue you in, no one here has a license to practice anything. We are not the mental health professionals. We do have a list of places where you can get mental health professional access on our show notes. Feel free to avail yourselves of those potential resources and join us on the therapy train.
Choot choot. The QR code. Okay, those of you who have been following the saga of our business cards, first of all, I used the wrong fucking logo. So Funny Bone is not spelled properly. It's spelled as one word, but it's actually two words. So that was mistake number one. Mistake
Debatable.
number two, I was working on some little design for a t-shirt maybe today, and I wanted to look at the QR code. So I scanned it and it doesn't work because apparently I was supposed to pay something to be able to use it. Here's the problem. I don't remember the website, and it takes you to a website to upgrade your membership to use it. So I went to that website. Luckily they offer you a free membership, so I did that, but they don't have our QR code, so that's not really the website that I actually did it on. So I went to the website I thought I did it on, and it doesn't have a account for us. So basically, we have to do new business cards, and the QR code on our current business card does not work and will never work again.
Okay.
Yeah. I emailed the new one that I signed up for today. I emailed them and said, "Hey, here's what's happened. Is there any way that we can reactivate this?" I haven't heard back from them, but what Google is telling me is that no, they won't be able to do that. So this new website, I created a new QR code. I created new business cards, and I haven't ordered them yet though. I was also going to order a notepad that looked pretty.
A notepad that looked pretty. Awesome. We're going to talk about fan mail.
Oh, okay.
And I think as we talk about the entertainment and weekly catch up corner segment, we can go into how many reels I watch on Instagram or Facebook every day. And we can
You are not on
decide.
it.
I feel like the Instagram and the Facebook reels are the same thing. Same
I
company.
just I the one I watched today that you sent me of the naked cat.
Yes.
That's the first one I actually watched that you sent me, and that's why I sent you the message, because I realized how many you have sent me that I have not watched. I haven't done a great job keeping up on Facebook lately because I have to snooze somebody every time I get on Facebook these days, and I
It's
hate doing,
fine.
like, I'm just sick of doing that. So I just ignore it. So I
Here's
don't really go on there anymore.
Here's all you need to do. All you need to do is look at Messenger and
Okay.
see what reels I have sent you, because that's
Okay.
really
So
your only purpose for being on Facebook now, is
okay.
to feed my habit
Okay.
by
I'm in.
responding.
I absolutely loved the naked kitty.
Yeah, he was
Um,
stretching.
hmm Yeah,
So, for those of you that don't know, naked cats are cats with no fur.
they're my
Sphinx
favorite.
cats, I believe that
Yes.
they're called.
Hmm.
These are the only kind of cats that Sarah likes, which is
Yes.
weird because they're the only cats that don't look like cats.
Because they're the only cats that no one else likes. They're the best. And I really wanted one until I looked up like how much care they need and
You have to,
realized that like the reason you get a cat is so you don't have to take care of it. Like it poops in its own box. You don't really have to take it for walks and all that shit. But these cats require like a lot of work because they don't have any fur. So you have to moisten them. Blech. You have to moisturize them. You have to moisturize them. And if they're gonna be outside for whatever reason, you have to sunscreen them.
oh my God.
Right. There's a lot that goes into having one of these naked cats. So instead of having a naked cat, I just like to watch naked cat videos.
And here I am to feed that for you.
I appreciate it. I very much appreciate it.
If you
Sometimes
could,
they're really cute. That's the thing with them. Like it's one or the other. They're really cute or they're so disturbingly fucking ugly. And I love both spectrums of it. I truly love both spectrums of it.
do you recall when we were on vacation a few years ago? There was a naked dog, not quite naked, like with just random poofs
Baby
of hair. on him. And
Were there two of them or was it just one
it was
dog?
just one dog twice
What
up
it
the
was?
beach and down the
Yeah.
beach.
They stopped to talk to us and the naked dog was sitting on my lap.
The naked dog was like, I found my people.
Yeah. This is
What's
my
up,
girl.
weirdo?
This is my girl. And they were telling us like how they have to sunscreen the dog.
Right.
The dog is enough work. I guess the dog doesn't shed, so that's cool.
Does really? Because I would be surprised those little tufts of hair don't fall out.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like that wasn't a real. I feel like it was just a sick dog.
I don't know. I don't know if it was a breed or if it was supposed to look like that,
They do exist, and the naked dogs do exist.
but gross. That's all I'm
Okay.
gonna. It's just gross. But it was cute that it wanted to be your best friend.
It did. It loved.
Back to the reels. I sent you one
Uh-huh.
earlier this week. That was
Mhm.
it was a
The
cowboy.
neon yo-yo. It wouldn't play for me. I couldn't open it up.
I don't know. I don't know how it ended up on my thing. I don't know what I pressed to
hmm
get the cowboy neon yo-yo guy, but I watched the whole thing, fascinated.
Your last message to me was something like the cowboy yo-yo and naked cat, and I read it as the naked
Naked.
yo cowboy cat, and I was like, "Wow, that's a lot."
We could make that happen.
I don't think I
We
want to make
can't
that happen.
we can't do much with this podcast apparently because we can't get our business cards together. But
Yeah, we can't. We're bad at advertising. Hey, to the girls at the attorney's office yesterday that took our cards, hopefully you get to listen. Hopefully you didn't try to use the QR code.
I think you get it enough. Like you probably people who use QR codes maybe think it's their fault they can't figure it out. So they
Yeah,
just
that's what it is. Hopefully that's what it is. They're like, wow, that's what I would think.
right.
I would do it and be like, wow, I'm obviously fucking stupid and doing this wrong. So I'll just go to the website or I'll just go to
Right.
Apple Podcasts and search the Mental Funny Bone.
Right.
I am going to guess that most of our small group of listeners are smart enough to do such a thing.
Yep, absolutely. And I think when they look at the logo, they're going to be like, man, the space between funny and bone is small.
Yeah, that's what it is. They're not even paying attention
Now, that
to
logo
that
is so small they
space.
can't see it.
Yeah.
Nobody can see
The
it.
new one, though, the new design I have going on, whew, it's perfect. There's very
Oh, I'm
little
so
words,
excited.
and the words that are on there are large.
I adore this for us. I'm really
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So that is my Reels addiction. Probably going to have to get into some sort of program for that. And I am going to have to figure out why it assumes that I'm single.
Yeah,
I mean, I
don't know. Because you're watching dating advice reels all the time.
they're fascinating. I was like, I didn't realize
Well,
how
that's why it
complicated it
thinks
had
that you're
gotten.
single. It's like this bitch is listening to all the dating advice, so obviously she is
Needs it.
looking for someone.
I am,
don't know.
and all I will have to say is that I am very glad that I was finished dating before social media became a big thing.
Oh, amen.
Right?
Amen.
I cannot imagine somebody going to my Facebook page and seeing that ridiculous menagerie of bullshit and being like, yeah, we should definitely go out on a second date.
I don't know. I'm thinking about my Facebook page right now, and I feel like, yeah, I feel like they would have been they would have known exactly what they were getting and been
Maybe
like, yeah, she's fucking crazy and funny and posts the most ridiculous pictures of herself without giving a fuck.
they would have been like, this bitch is never home.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, yeah.
Accurate. All right. Other fan mail. Oh, Kim D.
Love
What
her.
up, girl? Couldn't love you. Couldn't
Yeah.
love you more.
Dude.
She sent us some fan mail. Also, there's been a lot of email from Mark Manson. That's all the fan mail we got, but your mom did offer us a correction for something, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, now I remember. Apparently, it wasn't her idea to go to a bed and breakfast with no pool or TV in Gettysburg. It was your father's.
Did we say it was Nita's idea?
I don't remember. The way she mentioned it,
It
made
sounds
it
as though we
seem
did.
like
Yeah. All right.
it was-
We apologize, Mom.
definitely her thing.
Sorry, Mom.
Yeah, our bad. So your dad and your mother listen to the podcast, but they listen to it at different times in different spaces, and maybe at the same time in separate locations.
I think that they were in their tiny home in one bedroom and the other was in the other bedroom. They're slightly hard of hearing these days, so obviously it doesn't bother them that there's. Do you think that they planned it? Was Daddy like, hey,
Hello,
This
Macho.
mother, I just took him out. Owen just went outside because his buddy's going to be here to pick him up. Anyway, okay. Do you think that they planned it though? Do you think daddy was like, hey, Nita, I'm going to go back in my bedroom? Hold, please.
This is the best.
Okay. Let's
Did
try
you
again. Anyway, back to mommy and daddy and the podcast listening. Do they plan it? Is daddy like, hey, Nita, I'm going back in the bedroom to listen to the podcast?
I
And
don't
she's
think
like, oh, okay,
so.
I'll sit out here and listen to the podcast.
I
And
think you're
I was unaware that daddy was even listening to the podcast.
no, because I thought he was afraid to in the event that he did not like it, he would not be able to tell us that.
He did say that he doesn't listen to the whole thing.
Oh yeah, he only gets to the point where we start making fun of him and then he turns it
Oh,
off.
okay. I don't think we've ever made fun of him. I think that we've told stories about him. If he thinks that's making fun of him, then he should probably act differently. We're simply stating facts.
We could also remind him that nobody cares.
Ah, yes, the awesome lesson of no one gives a shit about you.
Nope, nobody cares if
Can
we
you
make
hear
fun of you or
Macho
not.
in the background now just hitting the button?
Is that what that is?
Yeah,
Smacking it.
he's just smacking with his paw.
Oh, oh, poor
Mhm.
Macho. Poor
Yeah.
Macho. All right, so I think that's fan mail. I think that's all of our feedback.
Love you too, buddy. Bye.
Your kid loves you. Also, sorry, it's been a day at work, so I feel like I have to constantly be looking at my Outlook. So we can get into what we did this week. Besides me sending you a bunch of reels, we took our parents to sign some paperwork, and that was fun. That was fun.
It's
We shepherded them into the building. First, I want to point out to all of our fans that I was 20 minutes early.
yes. Thank you. So proud of you. So incredibly proud of you.
The bad part about me being 20 minutes early this time is that I didn't like being 20 minutes early. I felt weird sitting in the parking lot waiting to walk in someplace. I'm going
Oh,
to overcompensate the next time
and be
and
late.
be terribly late. And I
Yeah,
can't
I
get
find
it
that
right.
funny because I love sitting and waiting because I know that that calms me down because I know I'm where I need to be. I don't have to worry about rushing around. I've made it. I'm here.
No, I can't. Like, all of it is just very upsetting for me. I don't like it. So I was proud of myself in that I got everyone there on time, but
Mhm.
I just can see the pattern extending. I will never be on time. I will be 20 minutes early or 15 minutes late all the time,
I don't be that way though.
unless we're going to the airport, in which case I have a spreadsheet to tell me what time we have to be there. So I can be there.
So I feel like the spreadsheet for the airport, like there's a lot of steps involved in figuring out when you need to be at the airport. Whereas when you need to be somewhere else, it's pretty simple. Like I need to be there. Our appointment is at 1:30. I need to be there at 1:25. It takes me 20 minutes to get there. So I need to leave at whatever that math is.
Right.
105. So I need to leave at
Sometimes
1:05. In my case, I need to be there at 1:25. It takes me 20 minutes to get there. I'm going to leave a half hour early, earlier than I need to be there.
all of this makes very good logical
Mhm.
sense. Sometimes the breakdown happens at different points in that calculation. Sometimes it is me just not doing the math right.
Mhm.
Oh, shoot. I should have left 15 minutes ago if I was going to. Yeah, damn it. Other times it's I should definitely leave at this time, but my spicy brain will start working on that problem at 9 a.m.
I don't think you get to blame your spicy brain on this one because I think it's pretty
Pretty
straightforward.
sure. Pretty sure I do.
Pretty straightforward. You
And
have to be there. You have to be there. How long it takes you to get there. You add 10 minutes for traffic. You go.
yep. Yeah, I get it. I really do
Mhm.
see that this should not be a ADD problem, except
No.
for if I'm gonna do that, I need to start paying attention to that at 9 o'clock in the morning,
As you should
regardless
because
of
it's what you do in the day.
what time the appointment is. Like I
Yeah.
will start to need to pay attention to that. But it also means that not a whole lot of other stuff gets done. And sometimes
So you
it doesn't.
can't just like at 9 a.m. when you're looking at your calendar and you're like, ooh, I got to be there at 1:35. I have to leave
Yep.
at 1:10. I'm going to set an alarm for myself at 1:10 or
Hmm.
at 1 o'clock so I know that I'm ready to go.
Yeah, on my calendar, every appointment I have when I put the appointment on the calendar gets a time for the appointment gets included inside the invitation, and the time on the calendar actually says you need to leave here.
So
And
why
then
do
I get a 15-minute reminder that this is happening. And then I get a 5-minute reminder. My problem is that sometimes, and not all the time, sometimes I'm like, oh, 15 minutes is so much. There's no way it's going to take me 15 minutes to put my shoes on and walk out to the car because it's just not. And then
and
I
I
get to
feel
the 5-minute
good.
one. I get to the 5-minute one and I'm like, oh, you know what I forgot? I have to put pants on and get dressed. Like it's not going to take me 15 minutes to walk to the car, but I've also not done three things that then need to be done. Sometimes that's the problem and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes I can get out the door just fine. Like yesterday, I was like 12:30. You need to be at your parents' house at 12:30, so you need to leave here at noon, even though it doesn't take a half an hour to get to mommy and daddy's. It takes 10 minutes. But I sure was putting my shoes on and walking out the door at noon, and I got to their place at 10 after, and we got them ready and put into the car in time for me to be 20 minutes early. So everything worked yesterday, but sometimes it just doesn't, and I don't know why. I'm going to die on this hill.
That's fine. I call bullshit. But go ahead.
Fair.
You keep laying down and dying on that hill.
This hill is the one I'm going to die on. I will do my best to be there early, but most likely I will be 10 minutes late.
Yeah.
I have oodles of time. And I read somewhere early on in Olivia's diagnosis that the way that ADD brains tell time is it's either right now or it's later. And that makes so much sense to me because 15 minutes is later, like later.
Very happy that you were early yesterday.
Yeah, it was early. It was fine. I sat in the car. Your mom asked me, oh, we talked about country music because your dad said, I hate country music. And then
Yeah.
sang the Oak Ridge Boys.
Yeah.
I don't like this country music.
Yes. So
I didn't I didn't have any John Prine in the car.
yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was. Can we get to oval, oval, ready, right? Or Peter Piper picked a
Nope.
pecker.
It's the
No,
P.O. Peterson writing method.
P.O. Peterson writing certificates.
It turns out when our parents were younger, they would have to do their P.O. Peterson writing method. And that's cursive for you younger kids. We barely learned cursive, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe Gen X, the what comes after us? Gen Z, then the
I don't know.
millennials.
Again, the generations is like centuries. I don't fucking know which one I am. I literally have to Google it all the time. I
You're
know that
Gen X.
no, I was going to say I know I'm not a baby boomer, but
You're
I don't
not.
really know that.
You're not a baby boomer.
I'm a
You're
Gen
Gen X.
something. I'm a Gen
You might be
something.
as Gen Z. I think it goes Gen X, Gen Z, millennials, whatever the fuck these kids are these days. I can't
I don't know. I don't know
remember.
what I
After
am.
millennials, I'm no good at it.
After all of them, I'm no good at it.
Anyway, you get your P.O. Peterson, which I'm typing into the Googles right now.
P.O. Peterson.
P.O. Peterson handwriting. Oh my God, there is something called it. They have the Peterson directed handwriting. It's it's an entire website dedicated to the benefits
To cursive.
of cursive writing. The benefits of cursive go beyond writing, according to a New York Times article. The whole purpose for us going to the attorney's office was so Nita and Jomo could sign a bunch of paperwork, like their will and all this stuff that you have to do when you get a little older. Your dad, I don't know if you noticed, has a little trouble holding his hand steady. So he's a little shaky. And when he tries to concentrate on it, it gets real bad.
Worse. Mm-hmm.
Right. So he is like struggling through writing his name. And your mom has the nicest handwriting of any
Mm-hmm.
older lady that I know.
Yeah. And she's very concentrated and very slow in the best way
She's
possible. This is not a shitty trait. This her handwriting is very neat and she does it very
right.
controlled, whereas daddy is all over the fucking place. But the point
Right.
of it is there are these wonderful young ladies helping us with the paperwork, and he as he goes to sign, looks at them and says, "Have you ever heard of the P.O. Peterson certificate?" And they're like,
And
"No." And he's, "Let me tell you."
and he explains it. And apparently, a part of this method is when you're getting ready to write, you make these circles and you say oval,
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 ready,
ready.
write. And apparently, the Peterson directed handwriting method, the website that I'm looking at, is based on writing with a rhythm.
Oh,
So
like
that's why
it.
it's oval, oval, ready,
Oval, rhythm,
rhythm,
with a rhythm,
downstroke,
right? With a
upstroke,
rhythm, up,
cross,
down. It's
across.
like you can make it whatever rhythm you want, though.
Right. The oval, oval, ready, right is merely a suggestion.
All right.
The
Yeah.
difference is the rhythm.
So that's what we talked to the attorneys about yesterday. Was
Right. Not one of these poor girls had ever heard of cursive writing. I think
yeah,
maybe one of them.
one. She learned cursive.
Right.
Yeah. Other than that, they were like, "I don't know what you speak of," and I loved it. The
Right.
one,
And
she didn't do the cursive because she was in school in some other foreign land.
just, you can say it. She was in the UK.
I don't think she said UK.
Pretty sure she did.
She said England.
Oh, I'm not getting into it again. I'm just not. I'm not going to get sucked in to this debate. What countries are in the UK now?
It's dumb. It's fucking stupid.
Nobody is going to be able to fool me into having listened to all the episodes of this podcast and not knowing what comprises the UK.
So, can I tell my favorite story about yesterday, though? And the story is just secondhand. We go for a little bit of Mexican afterwards. And Nani comes with me and Daddy goes with you. We get to the restaurant. You and Daddy get out of the car. You guys are laughing. Like, oh, I can't wait for this. Sit down. And apparently, as you guys were on your way, Pappy was telling a story and then said, "Nita." And you had to inform him that Mommy was not in the car with you.
Dad, she's not here. And he went, what? Oh, I thought that bitch was awful quiet. What? What? This is the same man who says, we'll never have to worry about your mom and I not living independently. Okay.
Yeah. Good times. Good times. Yeah. There's that.
I love it. He told another story to the girls. I think your dad likes to get out of the house and amongst people just to repeat stories, right?
To tell
like,
stories. Why
that
wouldn't
seems like
you? His
his MO.
stories are golden, though.
Right. What was the other one?
Most
oh, the $1.37 all you can eat Mexican
Did you not
food
take
buffet.
the notes with you? We took the notes.
I think you took the notes.
I put them in the folder
Oh,
with all the other
yeah.
papers.
Now
so you have them.
I have
But
them.
I think that's it. I think it was just P.O. Peterson oval and then $1.29 or $1.59 Mexican
72
in San Antonio.
Price. Real Mexican food too. He was quick to point out. It was in
because
Texas.
He was in San Antonio. So obviously it was real Mexican food, not this fake shit that they sell at the El Campesino.
Shout out to El Campesino. Great service. Loved it. Delicious spot for lunch. We got our food super quick. They made you churros to order.
Yeah. Love a good churro.
So, there we go. That's our shout out. That is the weekly catch up corner. Growing up Gaster story of the week. Here's.
Hold, please. Come on, really?
Somebody told me yesterday, we should have put this in feedback or fan mail, that my voice was very soothing and they felt calmer just having talked to me. I said, wow. Darn right. Darn right. So, growing up Gaster story of the week. Here's what I have for you. Do you remember when we were little? Not little. Like, I was probably middle school.
Junior high.
Yeah, junior
we
high.
Didn't have middle school back in there.
Oh, it was definitely junior high. Definitely junior high. Like probably early junior high, like 7th, 8th grade. And you were probably late elementary school. You were mid element, like 2nd grade. We would terrorize people on Similo Drive. So shout out to the Similo Drive gang. We would terrorize people around Halloween. And I wasn't allowed to do any of this shit, but people would go over to the cornfield over on Blaine Hill.
Oh, yeah.
And they would get the dead corn.
And do the tic-tacking.
And they would take the corn off the cob, and then they would run around to houses, and they would chuck the hard corn at your house.
So did you participate in this? Because I never did.
Never.
It wasn't... Yeah, I don't know. Like, I really never did. I don't know why. I smoke bombed somebody's house once.
It seems like an activity that you would have been
Yeah.
happily engaged in. I was too scared. I was like, no, my mom and dad will find out and I'll get in trouble.
I know. I
But
do wonder, like, how easy is this? How easy is it to get the dead corn off the cob? Because I feel like that's challenging.
I don't know. I've never tried. If you guys know, if you guys have gone tic-tacking or
If
if you've
anybody did the
taken
tic
part
tacking,
in the event that sounds like what we called tic-tacking, if you
hmm,
took the dead corn off and chucked it at somebody's house, it would make like a ticky-tacky noise on the window and the door, and then people would
yeah.
come and you would run away. Ha,
Is that
super
what, like,
funny.
yeah, I don't even know
Yeah,
what the point of it was.
that was tic-tacking. You would chuck the corn and people would be like, "Who's throwing corn in my house?" And they would come out, and if you were lucky, they would yell at you and they would threaten to call the
Hmm.
cops. And then that would be real scary and you would run away. I would imagine was the
Yeah,
appeal.
no. No,
Um,
I just smoke bombed somebody's house and then
whose
got
house did
caught
you
doing
smoke
it.
bomb?
Not gonna say. We
Oh,
got busted because I hid on the side of their house because I didn't take the right directive in the plan and I fucked it up
um,
for everybody.
oh, this is tough.
Yeah, that
This
was
is
the
tough.
last time I
Maybe
did that. I was like, yeah, I think I'll just stick to hanging out in the woods and smoking cigarettes.
I think we'll just go to farm party. Yeah, so there was the tic-tacking, and there was one night where nobody wanted to go tic-tacking, but what we did want to do was create like a haunted scene in front of the Black's house. We created, as children of the 80s will do, a scarecrow from garments that we had gone in and stolen from our own homes and stuffed them with whatever, like we were doing crafts outside.
Yeah.
We made a scarecrow and we strung together like many rubber bands, and we would drag the scare like we would pull it taut across
Taut.
Similo Drive,
Mhm.
and then we would release it when a car was coming, so it would look like the scarecrow was like crawling on the ground.
Wow. That's a
It
lot. Where was I? I was obviously
You were
not
in second
invited.
grade. You were in
And I was
second grade.
probably afraid of whatever you were doing, so I was hiding
100
inside.
100%. We said scarecrow and you're like, I have to go inside and watch Little
No, I
House on the
can't.
Prairie.
I'm going to see Laura Ingalls.
You were like, I don't
Mm.
like that Nellie. She's so mean. I want to be just like her when I grow up.
She was a cunt.
I love that show. So, but we had to experiment. Like sometimes there were too many rubber bands and it got caught the one time. So we had to pull it instead of it slinging itself.
I
There
feel
was a
like this
lot of
is a
it
mathematical equation. It was just begging for you to solve it.
to pull it
Hmm.
tighter. It was all of us kids that typically hung out there. And I was like, no, you have to pull it tighter. And I think somebody didn't want to listen to me and I probably got mad. But yeah, cars would slam on their brakes and we would laugh like it was the funniest thing that we had ever seen. No one's parents looked out the window, not once, to see
No,
what we were up to.
no.
Not
Mm-mm.
even when one of us went inside to collect every rubber band
Yeah.
that family had.
Nope.
And imagine how long the chain of rubber band. It took us forever. We interrupted a game of kickball to get this underway.
I wish I could have been a part of this. I wish I could have seen it.
And it was after dark, like quite some time after dark in October. Like we're probably
Yeah.
out there 8:30, 9 o'clock. No one's coming to look for us.
Nope.
I remember taking part in that and being like, oh, see, this is what the holiday of Halloween is all about.
This is what the holiday's
Terrorizing.
about. Yeah.
Right. This is the reason for the season, if you will. It's feral children trying to cause an accident.
Yeah. Luckily, there wasn't a ton of traffic on that road, so I feel like
No,
it's okay.
yeah, we're fine.
Can you see?
The
It must have taken a lot of patience just waiting for a car to come by.
And then somebody would yell, like we sent one of the SWAT kids up the street so that he could yell car and
Here
we could
comes a
get ready.
car.
Car,
Gosh.
car.
See the shit I missed out on.
Yeah, for being a giant scaredy cat
Mhm.
and 10
Yeah.
when the rest
Yep.
of us were like 14. So I feel like since it is spooky season, that if anyone is going tic-tacking, could you call me? Because I
Yeah.
really want to go. I feel like I missed out on something and I want to organize a tic-tacking party.
I simply want to know the mechanics. I want to know, like, how. I still feel like it would be really difficult to get the hard corn off the cob.
I think you just got to shake it. You just got to grab onto it
Mm.
and pull it off. And I feel like it required like a whole like expedition. You had
Yeah.
to get to the farmer's field. You had
Hmm.
to make sure he wasn't going to get angry, because I feel like
Hmm.
that was also a place where people got caught and got in
Oh
trouble.
yeah, kids died there. I guarantee it. Kids disappeared there. It
The
just
farmer
seems
would catch you, and it was a scene from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'm pretty sure,
without a
which was
doubt.
probably another reason I didn't go, because I thought that might be true.
Yeah.
Plus, we
You
had all
know,
those kids on those milk cartons back in the 80s. Guaranteed that's what
yeah.
happened to like two of them. They were tic-tacking and
Yep.
got kidnapped by a
And the
farmer.
farmer
But
took
you,
them.
and how much did you take? Like how much
Yeah.
corn do
Did you
you
take a
need?
sack or did you go to the farm and you just took the corn cobs and brought them home and shed them? What
Or did you
exactly? I want to know I want to know the mechanics of it. I want to know the planning involved, where it all came from, how you were carrying it. Did you just need a handful? Did you have a bag? Were your pockets full? I want to know how it
yeah,
all worked out.
logistically.
Mhm.
And could you, in theory, not just get popcorn from the store and do the same thing if you were scared of the
Yeah.
farmer? Because
Hmm.
maybe that's what we'll do when we go tic-tacking
We can
for
just get
our
popcorn kernels because we'll
tic-tacking
just end up
fundraiser
throwing them at each other
at
and
each
one of us
other's.
will lose an eye.
It's the perfect solution to an 80s party. Like,
I feel like it should have been a scene in Step Brothers. The two of them going tic-tacking.
oh my
Just
God.
fighting each other with the corn.
Yes, I'm in. So, yeah, if anybody wants to go tic-tacking, Gaster, GASTER GIRLS at gmail.com. Don't forget the
Gastergirls at
S.
gmail.com. Yep.
Hit us up. We'll go tic-tacking. You
Yeah.
can also use that little fan mail button if you're listening to us on the website. Feel free. That's fun. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Send us a text if you have our number. We will organize the tic-tacking. And
I'm in. I like it.
if you're the police, don't.
Just ignore us.
Sorry. We're definitely, yeah, if you're the FBI, any kind of law enforcement, we are definitely not going to do this. We're just kidding.
Actually, call us. Because I just want to talk to you because that sounds fun.
Other questions about other things. True crime is an area of interest for the Gaster
Yeah.
Girl. So
Yeah.
if you're in the FBI, don't worry about us tic-tacking. We want to talk to you about the
Murder and
Menendez
shit.
brothers.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure. All right, that is growing up. Gaster, shall we talk about mental health and our attempts at meditation?
Yes.
Do you
Which
want
I
to
am
talk about the
now.
book first, or do you want to talk about meditation?
I've decided I'm going to call meditation marinating.
Marination.
Yeah, that's just it seems right. It just happened. We could talk about the book because we got so last week you brought up Dr. Mark Epstein, so we finally got to the chapter with Dr. Mark Epstein, and I love
Right.
him,
It's the
and I love
Jubu
him.
chapter.
Yeah, I love him and Dan Harris together. And Dan Harris every fucking chapter says something else and I'm like, "Oh my god, we're the same fucking person."
That's why I knew you would like 10% happier. We just had to earn our way here. We had to build
Yeah.
the foundation. We had to
Yes.
work our way up to
So,
it. Yeah, love Dr. Epstein, love his approach to meditation, love pretty much everything in this chapter, like all
yeah,
through
I
it.
like him because he's where you had the other guys who, what's his name? Toll, the first
Toll.
one. He's, yeah, I don't ever get mad or anything. And Dr. Mark Epstein is like, yeah, I try not to, but like I'm human. So it happens. Like he's like a normal human being.
Right. Right.
And
Like he doesn't layer anything on top of the meditation. It's meditation because it's good for you.
yeah,
And it there doesn't have to be any more than that. There doesn't have to be a big sense of spirituality, and there doesn't have to be a big Buddhist credo to it, or whatever Eckhart Tolle was saying and Deepak Chopra, whatever those guys are layering on top of the meditation to make it palatable. It's just meditation. It's not a big deal.
yeah. And he talked a little bit about like Buddha in general and Buddhism as far as like being a religion, but it's not really like Buddha never claimed to be a god of any sort. In fact, he was, at least according to Dan Harris, I didn't do my own research, but according to 10% Happier, Buddha was like, yeah, you should probably read the shit and check it out first. And then if you dig it, cool. Like he wasn't like,
Right.
if you don't follow this and follow exactly what I have to say, then you will be struck down by the
25
fury.
virgins.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't
Interesting.
know.
But yeah,
Religion now.
but yeah, he touches upon that, and it's exactly what you said. It's meditation, and there's benefits to the meditation. And here are the things that you could take out of meditation, and here is how you can practice meditation, and here's how I'm going to make it sound simple, but it's disgustingly difficult.
It is, yeah, looking at the practice of meditation. I think this is the part of the book where we finally get to the good stuff, like where we
Hmm.
finally get to uh, meditation being an accessible thing that doesn't necessarily have to be wrapped up in spirituality. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be wrapped up in religion. It can
Right.
be just for its own sake. And I think this is the point of the book where I was like, I could get on board. Like, I could
Yeah.
get on board with that. I could understand that's the thing. And I don't have to worry about achieving nirvana or emulating the Buddha because I'm just me and
Yeah.
I'm going to struggle to do this anyway. And the benefits of it aren't necessarily tied to all that, but that stuff is always there if you want to dig a little deeper into it. And if you want to layer on your own religion pieces on top of it, there's nothing that's going to keep you from doing that later.
There were some things in this Jubu chapter.
It's my
I
favorite.
just like saying Jubu chapter, Jubu.
Hold
But
on.
I'm going back through my notes here because there was some stuff. The other thing I wrote, the first note I have here is Hurricane Harris. How, so he's talking about that Bianca, his now wife, used to refer to him as Hurricane Harris every once in a while because he's talking about coming home and just taking off like all of the suit and everything and just wanting to get into his sweatpants, and how he was like a hurricane because he just wanted to get to the next thing.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And I was like, yeah, Hurricane Harris. Yep, like it. Anyway, so he talked about basically like our inner dialogue where it's in a constant state of reaction. So,
What a
how to put it?
fantastic thing for me to get into at this perfect moment in my life.
There you go.
Just FYI, funny boners, I'm having a bit of a rough day and I'm not feeling my most confident today. We'll say that for various reasons. The fact that Sarah is now going to make me talk about how mean my inner voice has been to me today is going to be fun. We'll call
Fun.
it fun. We'll call
I can't say. So I'm just trying to go through some of the stuff that I wrote down because I should always, and I just did this last night. Like it drives me nuts that I forget this shit. And now I'm going to gather my thoughts. Another thing that Dan Harris said was one of the things that Epstein nailed for him, which I thought was like, oh yeah, that's me too, was the habit of hunting around the plate for the next bite before I even tasted what was already in my mouth. Yep, just the human tendency to continue going from one pleasurable experience to the next without ever actually achieving satisfaction. Like
yes.
all of these things, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, to
Do
be
you
right.
do you recall a time in your life where you were like in between things? Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
You had just finished doing one thing and there wasn't something else coming up, and
Yeah,
how antsy that
yeah.
made you feel?
It's a story of my life. It is the story of my life. Like everything in this chapter that Dan Harris talked about is the story of my life. Like I have no ability to just sit and be calm, which is exactly what meditation is, and appreciate the moment and what is going on around me and not thinking about something that happened in the past or what's coming in the future. Like it just I have no ability to just sit and just be, which I know sounds ridiculous, but it's always just thinking about, and to take it a step further, like there's mention of let me find it. There we go. Everything is constantly changing, and we suffer because of the things that we cling to that are not going to last. So there's another step to that. Like I'm worried and anxious because I'm going to die in a plane crash. I'm
Yeah,
worried and anxious because something is eventually going to happen to mommy and daddy, and I'm going to have to deal with that.
right.
Notice the selfishness of it. I'm going to have to deal with that. Is eventually going to happen to me, and I feel bad depending on what time when it will happen to me and what happens after that.
Yes.
Something's there's That's constantly a point of anxiety for me.
Why don't you just don't think about that?
Super awesome. Exactly.
If you just set
Yeah,
it up so you don't think about that,
I
maybe
will.
leave
I'll
five
set a
minutes
reminder.
earlier.
I'll set a reminder. Yeah. If it was that simple, I would do it. If I could set an alarm that
Right.
would make my brain stop, I would. But instead, I'll set an alarm that will make my fucking feet move to the door to get in the goddamn car to leave the fucking house.
They might not be equivalent. Carry
Okay.
on. We are not licensed medical professionals.
Fuck. All right. I have all kinds of shit written here that I can't even talk
I
about.
mean,
But so Dan gets to the point where he's talking to what's his nuts, Mark Epstein, and Mark talks about, I like that I say their first names like we're buddies.
right.
Like
Like Mark.
Mark talks about the mental habits that we have and calls them, what is it, like the comparing minds and the wanting minds, and what is the monkey mind, which is the ego. Do you remember this? Because
Yeah.
it's always agitated and never at rest.
Yeah.
So, wow, this is actually my mind. So then Dan Harris asks, but doesn't like letting go of all of that and just being, doesn't that lead to, I can't pronounce it, passive?
Passivity?
Yeah, that's it.
Good. Okay. Passivity. You just point to me when you want me to say it.
But doesn't that lead to us? Why do we even bother? Or in the case of everything's going to end, then we shouldn't be attached to our loved ones. Like,
Right.
these are all these are all things that I think, what am I supposed to do? Just turn myself off? I feel like that's going to lead to bad things. And then Dan starts talking about how he really started to embrace, like the first time he really thought about embracing Buddhism and the meditation was when he was at his wedding. They did like a destination wedding, and it was all like everything was just peaceful and he was living in the moment and it was great and blah blah blah. But then as soon as he comes home and there's David Muir on the world news killing it. And Dan immediately goes right back into it. Wow, I'm fucked. This is the end of me. There's a
Right.
buddy killing it. I'm going down. Like I'm never going to. And I was like, yeah, that's me. Like I'm super great at Buddhism when I'm on vacation.
For about 11 days.
Like I'm really good at it. Really good at it. I come home.
I'm not even
Um,
good at it that long.
I'm sad when I get home because it's over and I have nothing left to look forward to. And then I go back to reality and my Zen is gone. So
Right.
then it's time to figure it out at home. And that's where meditation comes in. Like I have to figure it out on a normal daily basis instead of just when I'm sitting on a beach.
But does all of that other stuff still apply? What's the point of doing the meditation if I'm not going to be able to hold on to anything? What's the point of doing the meditation if my quiet mind isn't going to make this suffering of wanting to hold on to a state that is right now going to go away? Do you know what I mean? What's the motivation behind it if you get stuck in that what's the point loop? Did you think on that at all?
Yeah, because I thought, yeah, that's a great question. But because I don't think meditation is, at least in how I'm starting to learn about it, meditation is not just becoming the toll or the other guy. Like it's not like everything is, and
Tupac.
I'm like this all the time. Tupac.
Deepak.
Love Tupac. But that's not really, at least how I take it and what I'm learning about it. It's not about being in that state constantly.
Yeah.
It's a, I don't think it's not possible, which is what makes me, now I'm getting into it. Like now I'm like, I can do this because I don't have to shut my brain off all the time.
Yes.
I know that's not going to be possible for me, but being able to breathe and focus on my breathing and shut it down at certain points will be very helpful for me when I'm waiting in line to go through security at the airport. Once I start meditating and I learn how to focus on that breathing and I learn how to just be right here with me and not distracted by all the crazy that's going on around me, will help me get through those things and will help me deal with those stresses that I currently deal with. instead of taking Xanax all the time.
Yeah.
That's where I am so far. I'm really fucking bad at it. And at one point, Dan Harris says, this shit is diabolically hard.
It really is. So I remember this chapter, like I said, because this is the turning point. This is the place where I can approach it. I don't need it to be a religion. I don't need it to be spiritual. I don't need to have a connection with the wider universe. Cool if that's what comes out of it.
I
What
don't
I
need
do
an
need,
awakening.
I don't need an epiphany. What I need is a way to pause for 5 seconds when I have that thought that 15 minutes is so far away and be like, hey, dude, your brain works a little bit different. So why don't you get your
Mm-hmm.
spicy ass up and go put your shoes on? Sit in the car for 5 minutes instead of dicking around here.
Yeah, and be comfortable with that. Like, I think
That's
that
what I
kind of
need.
goes back to it because another thing he had talked about is when I think it was one of his professors at one point had told him to never travel without a book, always have something to keep your mind occupied, to keep you moving. And that's actually not the best thing all the time. Like, you have to figure out how to just be by yourself without being entertained. I don't know if
Right.
entertain's the right word,
No,
but
I know it. I know what you mean. Actively engaged. If there's a
yeah,
pause in the conversation, I'm going to pick up my phone.
exactly. And like last night, like I was saying, I tried to meditate last night and got really frustrated because I'm so bad at it. So what did I do? I went in the living room and played a stupid game on my phone for like hours and ignored my husband because I was annoyed and then spent money for the game because I'm an asshole. And the whole night, and I ended up feeling like a big piece of shit at the end of the night.
Right.
So that's how meditation went for me last night. But this morning, I got up, I did my Peloton walk, and then I did 5 minutes of Peloton meditation. I did really good for 10 seconds. And then my mind went over there, and then I reeled it back in and started focusing on in and out. And then I was wondering about, okay, nope, we come like it's,
Okay.
yeah,
Why do I put eggs in ravioli meat? No, that's not
yeah, like
what
there
we're doing
was
right now.
so many stupid fucking things that, and not even like stupid things. Like I this morning I was thinking about work, and then I'm thinking breathe, but in the back of my head while I'm thinking focus on your breathing, I'm having a secondary thought of what's happening. So it's, again, it sounds easy, like just say breathe, just in and out, but I'm saying in and out, but there's a secondary part back there. I mean, it's like right here
I
that
don't think
doesn't,
so. It's more like right here.
right here,
It's
wherever the
underneath the it's underneath the ear.
it's a real bitch is what it is. So that's what you just have to keep bringing it back and bringing it back and bringing it back. And this morning I felt much better about it because I got about 15 seconds that I felt was strong out of that 5 minutes. And it was a
It's
whole hell of a
strong.
lot more than was last night.
Yeah. The point where I can actively have some control over my thoughts, I think is a little bit ways away, right? My thoughts are
Yeah.
still going to be pretty effed up
Yeah.
for and the idea that this will give me the ability to take that heartbeat and be like, hey, your immediate next thought is going to be that you're a piece of shit. And when that happens, I want you to recognize that's a thought, that's a valid thought. That thought is a garbage thought, and you just let
Mhm.
that go. It's like, why are the eggs in the ravioli? Nobody gives a shit.
Doesn't matter. Move on. And
This
then
is not
I
reality. This is not a thought you're going to hold on to and burrow down into. This is a thought of, yeah, geez, you screwed that up. That's not going to kill you. That's not even going to get you fired. That's going to make you
no.
uncomfortable for about 15 minutes while you talk to somebody about it. So take that,
Here we go.
look at it. And the only way to get from here to there is to do the 5 minutes at a time.
Yeah. Just
Like
start out
that's the only
small
way.
and a little bit at a time, and you're working towards mindfulness. So you're allowed to have, you have the thoughts, but so you can recognize what's happening around you without letting it carry you away,
Without
without
getting on
letting
the
it control you.
phone with your sister and being like, I'm a dirtball and no one will ever like me or love me, and my worth is completely shit because somebody called me a bad name at work. Idiot.
You moron. But
And then
you're
having
allowed, but
that thought.
I think a part of it is also giving yourself grace, recognizing it and saying,
Right.
okay, I'm allowed to have that thought, but it's time to move on.
Right.
It's time to move on. I'm not going to let that weigh me down. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to go back to just focusing inside, breathing, move on. And the other the thing, I was like, fuck this. I'm never going to be able to do this because he was talking about like embracing the discomfort or being, I know I put it in my notes, impartially witness the discomfort. And he was referring to like itches when you're sitting
Right.
there, like not itching them. I was like, whoa, whoa, time the fuck out. Is that really part of this? Because if I got an itch, I'm itching.
Um,
So I've got a ways to go. I've got a ways to go. I think it's going to be super helpful. And while I still feel like it's going to be diabolically hard, which is something I'm going to continue to say forever, I still think that it will be very beneficial. And just like anything else, it's training. I
yeah.
don't know. I think it was something similar mentioned in the book, maybe. But you think about a dog. Like when I got the dog, I wasn't like, hey, you have to go outside when you have to pee and expect him to do that immediately when he's 8 weeks old. It takes training. When
Right.
I couldn't look at him and go sit and him immediately sit and know what I was talking about. Like it takes practice, just like everything else. You can't just be, it's not just you flip a switch and you're going to be great at it.
This is why we had to read Atomic Habits first. And this is
Yeah.
why we had to read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck first. So that we can. I think we stumbled on to exactly the right order for these things.
Yeah. I think we did.
Because you think about back in the. And I'll probably wrap us up like this every single week while we go through this meditation piece and try to like square things away. You think back to when we first started the subtle art. I was like, oh, values, that's going to be important because you got to pick what you're willing to suffer for and you
Yeah.
got to pick what's important. And that's what to be okay spiraling on. I'm not going to be okay spiraling about my feelings getting hurt at work. Because that's not my value, right? That's not
Right.
the being a big shit at work isn't the value. Doing a good job and being able to look in the mirror and say you did a good job. That's the
Right.
value. Doing the meditation, doing the work, and being able to have a clear enough mind to take that step and to say, hold on, get back to your value, get back to the thing that's important to you, get back to the thing that you actually give a fuck about because it is not the thing that you are spiraling out of control about right now.
Right.
So let that shit go. Let that shit go and pick something else to be obsessed about. Like, how am I going to set an alarm 15 minutes before I have to leave everywhere? Because apparently
You
it's
can do
just that
it.
easy to be on time.
Fuck yeah, it is. Fuck
Who
yeah, it
knew?
is.
Who knew? But the
I think
building
you
on
should send
that,
me your schedule and I'll just start calling you when you should be leaving.
you need to put your shoes on.
Yeah, you have to leave in an hour or so. Where do we stand on getting ready?
I'm by the door. I'm just standing by the door.
No, because that's what would happen. You would just fucking lie to me.
It's definitely. That's why I don't have you on Life 360.
Yep. Hmm. Yeah.
But back to the shit. Like everything kind of ties together. And I think the really hard part as we're going through like being able to control the brain is being able to find that thing to tie it back to. And I think the more clarity you can get in your head, the easier it is to get back.
And
So
it's hard.
there you go. And it is fucking impossible. And
Yeah.
the people that can do this have very lovely, successful lives. And they are living their values every day and they are enjoying the shit out of things. So that is the great
And
reward.
and that's what I feel like these people have worked for it. I feel like they've put in time and that's why I appreciate Dan Harris so much because I feel like he's my Dr. Mark Epstein. He's the one who's like showing me like, oh, wow, you and I are like the same. If you can figure this the fuck out, I can figure this the fuck out. There was another part, I made note of it. I'm not even going to look at it though, but he was talking about how Mark was talking about how, like, from the introverted side of things, like he was looking to find that he existed, that he mattered. And Dan Harris was looking at it from the extroverted side of things. Like he's lived in a world that he thought was just always about him. Like I have to find the exact
I know exactly
wording.
what quote you're talking about.
Yeah. What did he? Oh, okay. Again, here's my notes. Again, I am Dan Harris. While Mark thought he was unreal or empty or didn't matter, Dan and I thought from childhood that the whole world was laid out for our benefit and nothing happens out of our lines of sight. Introvert versus extrovert. And Dan
I
asked him,
mean,
like, we are so opposite. How is this going to work for me like it worked for you? And Mark said that's what's great about it is it can work for the introvert and for the extrovert. It can do the same things for each of us in different ways.
I loved that part too because I can see introvert and extrovert and I can see me and you and I can see like a path forward that gives us both what we need
Yeah.
because I think I'm much more of I need to not be invisible. I need to have a place in this world, not necessarily that this isn't all laid out for me. Like I could see the two of us reflected in that statement in a way that kind of melted my heart when I read
Yeah.
it. I was like,
Like
"Oh
I've said for the
dear."
longest time when I realized it, but I always say, like, I'm still trying to work out why everybody doesn't fucking agree with me. I'm still trying to work out that things aren't, why isn't everybody just doing what the fuck I want them to do? Well, I don't understand.
Right.
So
100%.
I'm always, so I think it's definitely, I thought that was another cool thing. And another thing, one more thing, because we need to wrap up because I have to get going. But the last note I took was you can be aware of things without judgment or without ego. And the next thing I wrote was really because I'm fucking judging all of the time. I'm judging others, I'm judging myself like constantly. Not only am I doing that, but I'm judging others for judging. Yeah.
This is going to be fun. Yeah. And I think, like, how great that this silly little podcast idea that we had would be the thing that gets us to do the hard stuff. Like,
Yeah.
how fucking amazing. How fucking
Yeah.
amazing.
Meanwhile, we
And
just wanted to sit around and be funny. And then you know what happened? Dan fucking Harris happened. That's who
right.
happened.
God bless him. I think the appeal of Dan Harris and the reason Dan Harris draws so many people in is because he's so relatable and
Yeah.
so approachable. And you and I are like that only for two really different reasons, right?
Hmm.
Like you're you, I'm me. We're really close and we're almost the same, but opposite
We're
in lots
very
of
different.
things. So
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I love everything about what we're doing. And before I let you sign off, I'm gonna tease everybody and tell you guys we've got two episodes of Bare Bones Banter, one of
Yes.
which will release next Friday. So look for that. And then the other one, we've got a little bit of editing to do. We went a little bit hog crazy on that one. That one was an emotional roller coaster journey. Not
A
that
a journey I'm going to continue next week on my own.
nice. I'm so excited. Yeah, so tune in for some of that for you guys that really like the interview format where we dig into how we accomplish one of the goals of this podcast, which is to make it easier for us to talk about mental health issues, make it easier for us to talk about diagnoses and find ways to support each other while we all go through the shit.
Or just yelling at each other to do what I fucking tell you to do. I don't
Whichever
know.
way,
Figure it out.
whichever approach you want to take, really, it's up to you, listener. Boners, it's up to you. Find your place in this world or tell people to get the fuck out of the way. You choose your own
Oh,
adventure.
all
All right.
right.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.